stories tonight in Y News. The Department of Transportation eyes to complete the maintenance of airports before the second State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
The Philippines and the United States officially opened the 38th Balikatan exercises, which has been dubbed as the largest military exercise in history.
The Philippine National Police supports the call of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhur Abalos for leave of absence of some PNP officers in relation to the arrest of Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr.
And the United States officials say the Pentagon documents leak is a very serious risk to national security.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, April 11, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harding Delgado.
First in the news. The Department of Transportation has reported to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. some of its accomplishments. The DOTr said they targeted to complete the maintenance of airports before the second State of the Nation address of PBBM. Nel Maribohok reports.
Department of Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista said the agency intends to complete the maintenance of airports by June. During the Palace press briefing, the DOTr chief was asked about the projects needed to be finished before President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s second State of the Nation address.
We're looking at completing airport maintenance around 18 airports in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao must be completed. The projects will be completed by June.
The DOTr secretary officially made the progress report for President Marcos, which included aviation, road sector, and maritime project updates.
We also reported ports that will be completed before June. Around 20 of these, and of course road sector projects, which will include construction of mga bike lanes, and there are more projects, for example in the rail sector.
Meanwhile, the Transportation Department also reported to the President the finalization of different contract packages for the North-South Commuter Railway as well as contract packages for the Metro Manila Subway. The Metro Manila Subway will have 17 stations connecting Valenzuela City to Pasay City and is expected to serve over 519,000 passengers daily once it becomes operational. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines and the United States officially opened the 38th Balikatan exercises. This joint exercise has been dubbed as the largest military exercise in history, with 17,600 participants from the Philippines, U.S., and Australia. Activities during the Balikatan include live fire drills and cyber defense exercise. Aileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and the soldiers of the United States seek to modernize operations in line with the times. According to Philippine Exercise Director Major General Marvin Licodin, the country is not yet technically proficient. He believes that the cyber defense exercise would develop the capabilities of the country in protecting itself from cyber threats. There are 4 major events during the 2023 Balikatan exercises, which will run from April 11 to 28. The other events include command post exercise, field training exercise, and humanitarian civic assistance. Licodin said these activities would help in strengthening the relationship between the two countries.
FTX and the military exercises are geared towards the strengthening the camaraderie, the interoperability, because we will be working with the Air Force, Navy, and the Army at different levels. So we need that to be cohesive so that we would achieve a degree of efficiency.
Aside from testing cybersecurity defense, the Balikatan exercises will also hold a live fire drill as part of their training. According to the Balikatan 2023 officials, this would simulate a situation expected in an actual threat. Meanwhile, U.S. Exercise Director Major General Eric Austin assured that the joint military exercise will not affect any tensions in the country.
We've been doing this for 38 years. Every April, and it is a tremendously important chance for us to train together as allies and partners, but it is no way tied to any ongoing tensions. An example is the fact that we're for the first time going to work through a cyber defense scenario that's been mentioned, and also from the U.S. side we have 2 new formations.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. orders to defer fare hike on LRT1 and LRT2 pending study on its economic impact. JP Nunez will tell us why.
Department of Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista has approved the fare hike petition of LRT1 and LRT2, while MRT3 petition has been deferred due to infirmities in complying with the requirements and procedure.
As far as the rate is concerned, it's already approved, but the implementation will be announced after we have conferred with NEDA, and then we will refer this back to the board of LRTA.
However, Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista explained that the DOTr will comply with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s instruction to reassess the implementation date and carefully study the economic repercussions of the increase to passengers of the major rail lines.
The instruction of the President is to reassess the date of implementation for us to be able to determine the impact on inflation. Since inflation rate has also gone up in the last 2 months, we'll have to review this. We'll discuss this with NEDA.
Based on the approved fare hike petition, boarding fee on LRT Line 1 and 2 will increase to 2 pesos and 29 centavos and additional 21 centavos per kilometer. This translates to a boarding fee of 13 pesos and 29 centavos on LRT 1 and LRT 2 from 11 pesos boarding fee. From 1 peso, additional rate per kilometer will increase into 1 peso and 21 centavos. According to some LRT passengers, fare increase is not timely due to inflation. However, some passengers believe that fare increase is justified if the rail lines will provide passengers a convenient travel.
Sa tingin ko po parang hindi po nararapat kasi sa panahon ngayon, lalo na sa mga estudyante na tulad ko, sobrang halaga ng pamasahe. Pag nag-hike pa, ano na lang yung bababawas din siya sa allowance ko. So, malaking burden talaga siya pag nangyari yun.
Depende kung magiging magandang serbisyo, bakit naman hindi? Kasi sa ngayon, na-experience ko matagal ang mga bagon. Lalo na kung nagmamadali ka. Kung tataasan nila yung pasahe, dapat mas magandang serbisyo din.
The last fare hike for LRT2 and MRT3 was approved in 2015. On the other hand, the LRT1, which was privatized in 2015, have filed petitions for fare adjustment multiple times since 2016 but has been deferred. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police supports the call of Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhur Abalos for leave of absence of some PNP officers in relation to the arrest of Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr., who yielded 990 kilograms of shabu worth 6.7 billion pesos in Manila in October 2022. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police believe that some PNP officers who allegedly involved in a cover-up of the confiscated 990 kilos of shabu need to temporarily submit their leave of absence. In a statement issued by the PNP, it is stated that the leave of absence is needed to give way to the investigation. Meanwhile, PNP Drug Enforcement Group Director, Police Brigadier General Narciso Domingo denied that there is an attempt to cover up the confiscated 990 kilos of shabu and the arrest of Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr.
Anyway, we already have all the documents, all the evidences, including those CCTV, nanggaling po sa amin yan. Kaya medyo masakit sa kalooban na kami na nga nagre-report, pinapaalam namin sa higher headquarters yung tunay na nangyari. Ito pa ang nangyari ngayon na parang lumalabas na kasabot kami sa mga gumagawa ng hindi maganda.
Domingo also said he has clearance from the higher-ups to uncuff Mayo after he was arrested due to the follow-up operations.
Actually, kinuha ko ng clearance yan. It was a strategic decision made with the clearance of the TDCO and the CPNP. Sa kagustuhan nating makakuha pa ng mas maraming drugs. Makakuha pa tayo ng isang bodega pa. Mas malaki dito sa nahuli natin na 90. Clearance po natin yan sa nakakataas sa atin na magsagawa ng follow-up operation.
But the operation did not go through.
Unfortunately, may concern, biglang na-cancel yung operation na yun. Dahil ang concern nga po ng ating CPNP ay baka biglang patayin si Mayo.
Domingo is among the 14 officials named by Secretary Abalos last night who were allegedly involved in the cover-up. The PDEG director said he is willing to submit his leave of absence as what the SILG appealed to give way to the investigation.
Right after this, we'll be filing our leave of absence as directed, and we will cooperate with whatever investigation the NAPOLCO might call.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And foreign news abroad. The recent leak of highly classified United States Defense Department documents poses a very serious risk to national security, according to Pentagon officials. This could just be the tip of the iceberg of disclosed materials that started to circulate long before it was detected. Nerissa Dando details why live. Good evening, Nerissa.
Good evening, Elsie. While the U.S. Defense Department has begun a review of its distribution protocols and access list for sensitive materials to assess the impact of the recent leak of intelligence materials, U.S. officials say the damage and diplomatic fallout could get much worse. On Monday, April 10, Assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, Chris Meyer, stated that while the Pentagon is being cautious in authenticating what has been disclosed, the documents unquestionably threaten U.S. national security as they cast light on info related to U.S. allies. The incident has consequently prompted the U.S. to reassure its allies of its commitment to safeguarding intelligence and fidelity to partnerships, according to State Department spokesman Vedant Patel. When asked about the extent of the breach and whether the U.S. is bracing for additional releases, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby replied that they will not go into detail, but so far they confirmed that at least some of the papers had been doctored. Meanwhile, specialized social media trackers and open-source journalism sites such as Bellingcat presented evidence that a few of the confidential documents were uploaded on private internet chats on Discord and then to 4chan as far back as March or even January this year. The recent leak is believed to be much smaller in scale and scope in comparison with the 2013 WikiLeaks disclosure of 700,000 documents, though this might just be the tip of the iceberg as the investigation continues. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, reporting live from Japan. Louisville Metro Police Department Interim Chief Jacqueline Gwynn Villaruel confirmed that the responsible gunman in the Old National Bank mass shooting on Monday in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, USA, was a 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon. The gunman, a former bank employee, started firing at 8:38 a.m. Monday and was live streaming the rampage on Instagram. Instagram later on deleted the captured video on Meta. Police arrived at the scene in 3 minutes and exchanged fires with Sturgeon, where he died on site. The mass shooting left 8 others injured, including that of a police officer who was shot in the head and claimed 5 lives. Deputy Chief Paul Humphrey believes that there is no active threat at present and believes Sturgeon acted alone, although his motive is still unknown.
I want to reiterate that there is no active threat. We believe this is a lone gunman involved in this that did have a connection to the bank.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg thanked the first responders for their heroic action and announced family support to victims will be made available.
To the survivors and the families, our entire city is here to wrap our arms around you. We've set up a family assistance center through the Red Cross to provide support and services to those families today and in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead that we know will be challenging. To provide you with whatever you need to deal with the trauma of this moment.
Meanwhile, the FBI has created a website to collect more videos or images related to the rampage. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Elsie. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Nearly 8 out of 10 Filipinos are in favor of reviving the Mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC program. A Pulse Asia survey commissioned by the Office of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian showed that 78% of respondents agreed with the proposal to implement ROTC to all college students. 13% disagreed, while 8% remains undecided. Most of those who agreed believe that the mandatory ROTC will instill discipline and responsibility to young people, and that it will train students to be prepared to defend the country. Meanwhile, majority of those who did not agree say that the program will only increase the cases of hazing, abuse, and harassment to students. They also believe that it will just waste the time of students that should be dedicated to studying. The survey was conducted last March 15 to 19, 2023 to 1,200 Filipino respondents aged 18 and above nationwide, with a margin of error of ±3%. Meanwhile, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, who led the committee hearings in the Senate, noted that there will be no exemption in the proposed mandatory ROTC program, even to foreign students.
There is no exemption. That's the general rule, no? Mga foreigner na estudyante, no? You cannot subject them to love our country, to die for our country, because they belong to another country. And yet, hindi pa sila accepted sa ROTC. They will undergo a ROTC program with different program of instruction.
The senator further assures a grievance committee will be formed to monitor the implementation of the program.
The Philippine government is calling on the two superpowers, the United States and China, to settle their strategic difference through peaceful means amid the growing tension in the Taiwan Strait. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
The Philippines is urging the United States and China to manage its strategic conflicts that may put regional security at risk. Speaking before the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, ASEAN Leadership Forum, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo says the two countries need to conduct a transparent and sincere engagement for peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
As responsible powers, each with a stake in the region's long-term peace and security, Washington and Beijing need to manage their strategic rivalry with dialogue, transparent and sincere engagement where possible.
April 11, a U.S.-Philippines 2+2 ministerial dialogue will be held in Washington, D.C. between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin III, Secretary Manalo, and Department of National Defense Officer in Charge Carlito Galvez Jr. The meeting, which will be the first in 7 years, aims to deepen bilateral security and economic partnership between the two countries. Meanwhile, several senators expressed concern over the rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China's People's Liberation Army conducted a 3-day live military drills near Taiwan as a stern warning following the meeting of Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa believes there is a big possibility that the Philippines will be dragged into the conflict once the new military sites under the Expanded Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, are utilized by the U.S. to support Taiwan. Senator Robin Padilla, for his part, urges the government to ensure that the Philippines will not serve as a staging point for offensives should the conflict escalates. Senate Deputy Minority Leader Risa Hontiveros says the Philippines should not allow to be caught in the crossfires between the two warring nations. The senator calls for more countries to band together to preserve stability and uphold world peace. Presidential sister Senator Amy Marcos, meanwhile, wants to limit the number of American troops who will participate in the Balikatan exercises and their length of stay in the country.
Aabot daw ng 17,000 troops ang Amerikano at araw-araw daw gagawin. Ibig sabihin 500 exercises, that's more than one exercise every day. Siguro dapat may limitasyon sa numero, sa visa, yung 3-month visa, kung 90-day visa, para maliwanag na hindi talaga sila nakapirga dito sa atin.
Last week, the Chinese Foreign Ministry noted that the additional EDCA sites also speak to the concern that these may draw the Philippines into the potential conflict in the Taiwan Strait. Hardin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. Power distributor Meralco announced a reduction in electricity rates for the month of April. Meanwhile, continuous monitoring will be implemented to sustain the reduced rates this dry season. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
The Manila Electric Company, or Meralco, announced that there will be a reduction of 12 centavos per kilowatt-hour to be reflected in the April billing cycle.
Good news po tayo ngayon sapagkat inaanunsyo namin na bumaba itong generation charge natin. PSAs contributed 41%, IPPs 27%, and the WESM at 32%.
Meaning, in a family that consumes over 200 kilowatt per hour, they can save up to 24 pesos based on the latest reduced rates released by the power distributor. Meanwhile, Meralco spokesperson Joel Zaldarriaga said that they will continuously monitor the trend of the supply and demand, especially this dry season.
Pagpasok ng Marso, Abril, Mayo, Hunyo, Hulyo, yan yung tinatawag na high demand months, no? Usually. Summer, tapos hindi pa masyadong nagtatagulan, no? Kaya yung gamit sa kuryente across the various segments. So pag mainit yung temperatura, mataas din yung demand sa kuryente.
On the other hand, Meralco's head of utility Larry Fernandez confirms that the implementation of fourth distribution rate refund to Meralco customers will be concluded by May of this year.
It's equivalent to a rate reduction or refund to household customers of Meralco of around 87 centavos per kilowatt hour. Gaya ng tatlong naunang distribution rate true-up na natapos na, ang distribution rate true-up number 4 ay matatapos din tinatayang itong May.
Meralco also advised the public to practice power conservation this dry season, as data shows that 10 to 40% of Filipinos are using cooling appliances. Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, is still finalizing its decision on whether it will revert the school break to pre-pandemic school calendar, which is April and May. According to DepEd Chief of Staff and spokesperson Attorney Michael Poa, the department has created a group to look into the possible adjustments on the school calendar and will be announced once finalized. Poa emphasized that if the decision is to revert from pre-pandemic school calendar, it will not be abrupt, and the department would still consider the school days to be completed per school year and the 2-month school break for teachers and students.
Meron ng mga initial na pag-aaral na nagawa, so this just has to be vetted, no, by, of course, other offices concerned dito sa DepEd. So titingnan po natin kung anong resulta ng pag-aaral. But again, I have to emphasize, dalawa po yung aspeto dyan. Yung unang tanong is, do we even go back to April, May? Diba? Kasi yun nga, no, before, marami din nagsasabi na dapat ibahin yung school calendar dahil mahirap naman yung tag-ulan pumapasok yung mga bata. Next to it, kung ma-determine nga na mas magandang ibalik to April, May, dito natin doon po papasok yung usapin ng transition period.
The Bureau of Immigration have arrested a Korean national who tried to depart the country with a Philippine passport, which the BI later determined to be genuine. BI Commissioner Norman Tansinko said that a 43-year-old man who used a Filipino name in his Philippine passport was apprehended on Monday at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA Terminal 2, while waiting for his flight to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. In a report, according to BI, the man also presented a Philippine driver's license and a postal ID, but could not answer basic questions in any Filipino dialect and was unable to describe details about his identity despite the use of Korean translation app. BI is now seeking an investigation into the fraudulently acquired Philippine passport. The said Korean national is currently being held by RHE agency pending charges for violating immigration laws.
Meanwhile, 52 families, or equivalent to over 100 individuals, are temporarily staying in evacuation centers after their houses were destroyed in a fire on Tuesday morning. Grace Flores will tell us why.
26 residential and business establishments were hit by a huge fire around 2 o'clock in the morning in Sitio Lokong, Barangay Poblacion, Bontoc Mountain Province. 3 vehicles and a tricycle were also damaged in the fire. The Bureau of Fire Protection, Mountain Province, responded immediately after learning the incident.
It started at a small sari-sari store caused by a faulty electric wire. Kaagad nag-spark, nag-spread, and it was beyond control already. When the responders came, medyo malaki na.
The PNP Provincial Police Office, Mountain Province, Mountain Province Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office, Sadanga Bureau of Fire Protection, Sagada BFP, Sabangan BFP, and private water delivery services cooperate with community volunteers to fight the fire. The situation was declared fire out around 7:20 a.m. Authorities also implemented preventive power shutdown to ensure safety during the fire operations. 52 families, or equivalent to more than 100 individuals, have been affected and were temporarily staying in the evacuation center. Mayor Jerome Tudlong Jr. has also suspended classes in all levels of public and private schools today due to power shutdown and heavy traffic flow.
The good mayor issued an executive order suspending classes at all levels kasi ang daming mga taong tumulong sa fire from 2 o'clock in the morning up to 8 o'clock. Kaya stressful ang mga tao, kaya sinuspend ni Mayor yung classes at all levels.
According to the Office of the Civil Defense Cordillera Regional Director Albert Mogol, the family packs have been distributed to affected families.
Meron na mga napadalang mga food packs, mga family kits, and then ongoing na yung support sa mga nasunugan.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DOTr, has implemented an ongoing relief distribution mobilization. According to the provincial administrator, it will take a long time for affected residents to recover. The fire mapping and investigation are still ongoing to determine the cause of damage and what caused the fire. Grace Flores, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
After the massive flooding forces evacuation of 146 families in Magsaysay, Davao del Sur, authorities have allowed them to return to their homes today. Alan Manansala will tell us why.
The residents that are staying in evacuation centers due to severe flooding in their areas are now back to their respective homes after a low-pressure area brought heavy rains in Davao del Sur. In Barangay Takul in the municipality of Magsaysay, around 146 families have been affected by the flood. According to the Office of Civil Defense Region 11 Regional Director Liza Manzo, they are now monitoring only one remaining evacuation center. The local government is continually looking for a possible relocation site as a long-term solution to the flooding problem. They are also monitoring the distribution of relief packs to all flood-affected families. Alan Manansala, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
With the rise of melatonin used to help children sleep, experts say that parents should not buy them online for its uncommon side effects and being unregulated. Ia De Vera will tell us why.
Melatonin, a hormone which helps regulate day and night cycles, is a prescription medication for people under 55 in Australia. While it is generally considered safe, some may experience uncommon side effects, including night terrors, nausea, stomach pain, headache, and drowsiness the next day. Clinical sleep psychologist and head of pediatric sleep research at Central Queensland University, Sarah Blunden, warned about the dangers of giving children melatonin both online, which are sometimes not regulated. The country's Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, is advising parents who are considering to illegally import melatonin without a script to be extremely cautious, as these products may not meet Australian standards and may contain undisclosed harmful ingredients. The TGA suggests that children who are suffering from any medical conditions should be seen by a doctor and not given medication purchased online. Ia De Vera, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The United States has now declared Wall Street journalist Evan Gershkovich as wrongfully detained by Russia for espionage and demands for his release. It was nearly 2 weeks ago when the Russian authorities have claimed the U.S. journalist was collecting classified information regarding an enterprise activities of the Russian military-industrial complex that contains top-secret information. Secretary Antony Blinken calls for Gershkovich's immediate release while trying to gain access to the journalist via consular access, but the Russian authorities have not approved the request. Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief Emma Tucker and its publisher Almar Latour voiced out that Gershkovich's detention is an attack on press freedom. Gershkovich is now one of the 2 American journalists detained in Russia and, if convicted, will face 20 years of imprisonment. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
Residents in Barangay Navotas, Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro are asking for more assistance from the government. It has been almost 2 weeks after they received relief packs from the city government. The residents added that they have been doing the spill boom for more than a month, but no cash for work program compensation has been provided to them. Even the officials of the barangay are also complaining about the situation since their constituents have been blaming them for the delay. Residents also complain the lack of potable water supply in the barangay because they are not allowed to get water from shallow well 100 meters away from the seashore due to benzene contamination.
Kami po hinahingi ng tulong, baka po kami matutulungan. Kung sino pong, gaya nga po ng aming mayor, aming pong gobernador, saan po kami magbigyan nyo ng aming pong ayuda?
The tropical cyclone Amang maintains its strength as it moves towards the country. As of 3 a.m. today, Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAG-ASA located Amang at 135 kilometers east of Vera, Catanduanes. Tropical cyclone Amang has maximum sustained winds of 55 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 70 kilometers per hour. It is moving westward at 30 kilometers per hour. Wind signal number 1 was raised over Catanduanes, Sorsogon, Albay, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Quezon, including Polillo Islands, Marinduque, Ticao Island, Burias Island, Rizal, Laguna, Aurora, Bulacan, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Nueva Ecija, and Isabela. In Visayas area, signal number 1 was also raised over northern Samar, and eastern Samar. PAG-ASA said that these areas may experience rains and gusty winds. Tomorrow, Amang is expected to landfall over Bicol area. Meanwhile, it may weaken into a low-pressure area or LPA by Friday.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of James, chapter 4, verse 11, it says, "Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge." Those are the reasons behind the news, April 11, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harley Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.